For years now, the company that makes Audis has had to defend its cars against claims that they suddenly speed up out of control with disastrous results.
Back in 1968, German automaker Audi introduced the 100 coupe and sedan in Europe and began imports to the United States starting in 1970. Its second generation in 1977 was renamed the 5000 in the US, where it initially sold very well. That is until 1983, when reports of sudden unintended acceleration quickly mired the car in controversy, and an even more controversial 60 Minutes report in 1986 that almost killed the car for good. This is a story of the Audi 5000 and its unintended acceleration scandal. This is my old car.
And for now, unintended acceleration, a problem that has confronted just about every automaker, remains a mystery. Robert Vito, CNN, Detroit.
This is my first episode devoted to an Audi model, and although there are multiple options for cars they sold in the United States that I could feature, the most well-known, especially for those that are car history buffs, would be the 5000. And for those who love cars, it is a sad story, as Audi tried to come up with solutions for a defect that the car may never have had.
The new 5000 from Audi, the art of engineering.
But first, a little background on the car's origins. In 1968, when the Audi 100 was first introduced in Europe, Audi was one of 4 German automakers that were part of Auto Union, which itself began in 1932. In fact, the Audi logo we all know today as 4 interlocking rings was intended to represent the 4 companies within Auto Union, although by the time the 100 was launched, Auto Union had been owned by Volkswagen for the past 6 years.
The answer is Audi.
The success of the 100 and other Audi models like the 80 and the 50 in the 1970s eventually led to Auto Union officially changing the corporate name to Audi by 1985. Imports of the 100 reached the United States in 1970, and although they were considered executive cars in Europe for their size, they were definitely on the small side in the US market. This first generation, known as the C1, switched to fuel injection by 1975, and both coupes and sedans were available in the US. That is until the second generation, or C2, began in 1978, when coupes were replaced with a wagon model, known as the Avant. In the United States, the 100 was renamed to the 5000 and rebranded as a large, stately, upmarket sedan.
Let's move it, dude. What is this? It's a car, man. Did you steal this thing, dude? No, actually, it's a loaner.
Now upgraded to a 1.9-liter inline 5-cylinder engine, it also had lots of standard features that were typically optional back then, such as cruise control and tinted windows.
Where are you going?
To the spaceship.
Over 20,000 were sold in 1978, and over 28,000 by 1979. The third generation, or C3 model, debuted in the United States in 1983, and the 5000S model became a popular option, with its turbocharger initially upping the horsepower rating to 165, and would eventually reach a peak horsepower rating of 220 by 1991. But in 1983, Audi began receiving reports from American owners of the third-gen 5000, claiming that the car would suddenly accelerate without warning, despite the drivers insisting that they were trying to brake. The odd thing was, owners of the matching Audi 100 and upscale 200 models in Europe didn't report the same problem. It also was primarily happening in automatic transmission cars, of which there were a larger percentage of in the United States. Audi conducted their own tests to try to recreate the problem, but to no avail, nor could they find any mechanical defect to explain it.
We're about 45 now. Here we go, wide open on the throttle and just stop it. That stopped in just a very short distance. Quite a simple thing to do, which shows that the brakes far overcome the engine power.
The investigation then moved on to the gas and brake pedals, or more importantly, their positions relative to one another. Audi's investigation found that it was possible that younger or inexperienced drivers, or those new to the Audi model, could confuse the pedals and think they were braking, when in fact they were accelerating.
The research we've conducted, as well as the reports we've received from government and independent sources, show the correlation between both a driver's familiarity with the Audi 5000 and unintended acceleration incidents.
Audi executives were convinced that their car had no defect that could cause the problem, so instead, Audi tried several different voluntary recalls, which they believed could help prevent the accidental push of the gas pedal by the driver. The first recall was for the floor mats, to add screws in the floor that would hold the mats down and prevent them from interfering with the pedals, but the complaints kept increasing. Next, they added a spacer behind the brake pedal to move it forward ahead of the gas pedal, but that didn't help either. A third recall made the spacer even larger, but again, no help. Finally, Audi modified the automatic transmission to prevent it from shifting out of park unless the brake was pressed, a common feature that many cars still have today. This last fix finally reduced the number of unintended acceleration incidents, since most occurred when shifting out of park, but it didn't eliminate all of the incidents. The Audi 5000 even became a slang term for "I'm outta here."
Every time I told my man I was about to leave, I was like, yo, Audi 5000, man.
Then in February of 1986, the unthinkable happened. An Audi 5000 owner, a mother of a 6-year-old boy, insisted the car's unintended acceleration caused her son's death. The investigation of that incident initially concluded that the mother most likely got the pedals confused and hit the accelerator instead of the brake. This tragedy caused the attention of the producers of the CBS program 60 Minutes, who offered to interview the child's parents. What had previously been a problem that Audi was able to contain was about to go completely off the rails.
So that if Audi says today, we've looked at it and there is no problem, you just don't believe them?
Absolutely not. I don't believe them for one moment.
In the 60 Minutes episode, the victims were interviewed and were adamant that they had pressed the brake pedal.
And I had my foot lightly on the brake when it just flew.
And you are positive that your foot was on the brake?
Absolutely.
60 Minutes also interviewed experts in the field of defect testing, who believed the problem was caused by a faulty idle stabilizer, which could result in more gas being sent to the engine and, in theory, cause the car to move forward on its own.
Which means the car would surge forward?
Yes, sir, or in reverse, depending on what gear you have it in.
Whether your foot is on the gas or not?
That's correct.
The producers of 60 Minutes wanted to show proof of the unintended acceleration as it happened, and those who saw the 60 Minutes episode got to see that proof, or at least what CBS wanted the public to see. Unfortunately, I have not been able to locate footage of the portion of this November 1986 episode which showed this recreation. I suspect that may be because CBS was later accused of rigging the car to make it fail, and once that deception was revealed, they've probably done their best to prevent the footage from being seen again. The producers at 60 Minutes did try to make it fail on its own, but just like the investigators at Audi, they couldn't make it happen. So instead, according to Audi's lawyers, CBS rigged the car instead. Audi's lawyers claimed that a canister of compressed air was sitting in the front passenger footwell, with a hose running to a hole in the transmission. This, along with a device to move the shifter into drive, without the driver present. The end result was a clip that showed the Audi 5000 moving forward on its own. Considering that none of the reported incidents of unintended acceleration involved the driverless car, showing this doctored footage made no sense, since it was an attempt to recreate a problem that never occurred. But it made for good television and good ratings. Audi had little choice but to offer a recall of the idle stabilizer, even though they firmly believed it was not defective. To help Audi prove their case, some automotive journalists conducted their own tests to prove that the car's brakes could easily overcome a high-revving engine. Even when they purposely tried to apply the gas and brake, the brakes would bring the car to a stop. So if the engine could over-rev on its own without pressing the accelerator, how is it possible that the owners of these cars couldn't override it with the brakes? To be clear, Audi isn't the only automaker which has been plagued by claims of unintended acceleration. Nearly all automakers have had similar complaints from owners of their cars, and the NHTSA has had to investigate them all. And just like their conclusions with Audi, nothing mechanically wrong could be found with the cars themselves. But Audi's case became the most prominent in the media, thanks to 60 Minutes, and the end result was a quick downward spiral for Audi. Sales of all Audi models in the United States had reached a peak of over 74,000 in 1985.
So many people decided to buy the Audi 5000's. It became America's fastest-selling European sedan.
But it dropped only around 12,000 by 1991. In 1989, Audi renamed the 5000 in the US back to the original 100 and 200 to match the European names, hoping to get the 5000 name out of the public eye, but that helped little as well. Even when the NHTSA findings were released to the public, exonerating Audi of any wrongdoing, the damage to the brand was already done. Audi even had to fight a lawsuit filed by around 7,500 Audi 5000 owners, seeking damages for the lost resale value of their cars. Audi offered increased warranty protection to all owners, even for models built as far back as 1978, and it is estimated that under warranty, Audi repaired over 250,000 cars. The fourth generation of the Audi 100, known as the C4, was released in 1990. Audi managed to keep the model going in the US, with most years having well under 10,000 units sold. Its replacement in 1995 was the Audi A6, And although US sales of the A6 remained about the same as the old 100 for its first couple years, it eventually increased to the highest US sales year of 30,000 units in the year 2000. The A6 is still in production today, although US sales have never come close to what they had in the early 80s. Some of that decrease could be attributed to the rise in popularity of SUVs over sedans, so it would be hard to prove that the lack of sales growth was primarily caused by consumers remembering the debacle of the unintended acceleration scandal. In fact, I suspect many owners of Audi cars and SUVs are unaware of it, and I am sure Audi would prefer people like me to not keep bringing it up again.
Can it fly? With the right driver, just about. All it needs is a quick charge. Not anymore.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you once owned a car from the 80s to mid-2000s that you rarely see today and would like it featured in a future episode, leave a reply in the comments or contact me at the email shown here. See you next time.